The former White House press secretary says he will cooperate with the investigation into President Trump. We will have more. Facebook, YouTube, eBay, and Amazon are being urged to reconsider their marketing policies for businesses that sell hemp products. And we have an inside look at some of the local staff, on what some local staff believe is causing low attendance in schools.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Well, good morning. It is 6:31 on Wednesday, March the 6th. I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning into Mountain News this morning. It's Ash Wednesday and it's starting off cold, but there's hope for later on in the week. Today, when you're heading out the door, make sure you put on a couple extra layers and warm up your car maybe just a little bit. Let's check in with Brandon to have a better breakdown of what you're to see across the region this morning. Brandon?
It's going to be a cold one, just like you said. So bundle up. Layers are your friend, as I've been saying all morning. And some snow has fallen in some places overnight. Getting on some roads. Let's take a look at one of those roads this morning. US 119, US 23 at Jenkins. And a little bit there on the side of the road. Not so much on the road, but as we looked at US 119 up on top of Whitesburg Mountain, Pine Mountain there, pretty much snow covered at times overnight. So be careful in the higher elevations especially. There's the snow bands rolling through. There is still a winter weather advisory out for Lee and Wise counties until 8 this morning. Temperatures cold, 13 to 19 is the range when you factor in the wind chill, single digits across the board. So again, just keep that in mind. Planning out your day, 32 with lots of sunshine, but deceiving sunshine with the wind. It's still going to feel much colder than freezing this afternoon. I'll have the rest of the forecast here in just a few minutes. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, the 31st Senate District here in Kentucky has a new state senator representing Pike, Martin, Lawrence, Elliott, and Morgan counties this morning. Yesterday, special election was set up after former Senator Ray Jones won his campaign for Pike County Judge Executive. At times, the vote difference was around 100 votes or less. But as the final precincts reported, Philip Wheeler ended the night with the win. Here's a look at what both candidates had to say.
More than 11,000 people in 5 counties made their voices heard Tuesday. In the end, the race was decided by a little more than 500 votes in favor of Republican Philip Wheeler.
When I've represented my clients over the last 15 years, I've never asked them whether they have a D or an R behind their name. And I'm not going to ask if they have a D or an R behind their name when they come to me seeking help for their communities.
Wheeler says that mindset will help him understand the needs of the people he now represents. He says he already knows what his focus will be in helping people here in the mountains.
The water issue in Martin County, which has been, really devastating and a burden to its populace over there. Pike County has some issues with the landfill.
While many people saw this election as a referendum on Governor Bevin, it may have been more about President Trump.
Trump's still really positive here, and I don't know. I've already called and congratulated Philip, and we were friends before the race, and I feel like we're still friends, and whatever happens, I just hope it's best for Eastern Kentucky.
Ultimately, Pugh says both candidates in this race just want what's best for Eastern Kentuckians.
I think everybody involved in the race on both sides has a common goal that they wish the best for Eastern Kentucky. And, there's going to be another race in May and another one in fall, and life goes on.
Moving ahead after a hard-fought election.
Now, if the results are confirmed by the Secretary of State's office, that would mean the seat would be a flip in favor of Republicans who currently have a supermajority in the Senate. Well, former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer says he will cooperate with the investigation into President Trump. Right now, the House Judiciary Committee is investigating the president's campaign, business transition to the White House, and his administration. In an interview with Fox News Tuesday, Spicer said, quote, "I will do everything to facilitate this investigation, and there's nothing I have to hide," end quote. Well, a man that has been criticized for not acting sooner to address the explosion of teens using e-cigarettes is resigning. Food and Drug Administration Commissioner Scott Gottlieb is stepping down after nearly 2 years leading the agency's response to a host of public health challenges, including the opioid epidemic and rising drug prices. President Trump tabbed Gottlieb in 2017 to cut red tape at the FDA. Well, the controversial federal surveillance program appears to have been shut down. A Republican congressional office says the National Security Agency recently abandoned a surveillance program that relied on bulk data collected from U.S. phone records. The official says the program needs to be reauthorized at the end of the last year, but the Trump administration may not extend it. Well, medical marijuana advocates say they still have hope lawmakers will approve their bill. It is on the agenda for a House committee today, but they are running out of time and fast. As Garrett Weimer explains, that's the one thing advocates say they don't have.
For years now in Frankfort, advocates have pushed for medical marijuana. This session seemed different, promising, but then things stalled as the session dragged on.
It's lost steam. In this short session, there's a lot of other things that are taking precedent over it right now.
Robert Matheny is the co-owner of Kentucky CBD Pharmacy in Nicholasville. This time of year, he spends a lot of time in Frankfort, too. He says advocates still have hope, encouraged by Representative Jason Nemes, one of the most outspoken of the 40-plus sponsors of HB 136, saying the House Judiciary Committee will finally vote on it.
There's a lot of hope. If it comes to a vote, we should pass. We got to get it to the vote.
But the House committee is only one step in the process, and with only 6 legislative days remaining during the short session, lawmakers and advocates alike know time is running out.
So this is basically the Hail Mary. We need to have it heard, or we're going to be talking about this in 2020. These people can't wait. This is life and death for a lot of people. This isn't anything about getting high.
Advocates say they know they still have work to do and plan on making sure lawmakers keep hearing them. Garrett Weimer, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, 3 other cannabis-related bills filed in Frankfort are stuck in committee. Those are Senate Bill 80, which would legalize recreational marijuana, Senate Bill 82, which would decriminalize marijuana possession, and Senate Bill 83, which would establish workplace protections for public employees using industrial hemp products. Well, speaking of industrial hemp, a resolution is moving in the General Assembly to urge Facebook, YouTube, eBay, and Amazon to reconsider their marketing policies for businesses that sell those products. We've told you before about hemp and CBD companies having their Facebook pages taken down. Many of them have since been restored. But still, those in the industry say despite the growing popularity of their products and the Farm Bill making it legal at the federal level, they are still limited with what they can do online.
Until all these restrictions get lifted and you can advertise on different platforms, it's definitely going to stay a little more difficult.
The resolution passed the House last month, and yesterday was reported favorably out of a Senate committee. Kentucky Ag Commissioner Ryan Correll says the state's hemp industry is growing rapidly. Well, health officials say vaping could partially be at fault for low attendance in schools. Whitley County Health Department staff say 1 in every 5 high school students and 1 in every 20 middle school students have picked up vaping. They say the lack of knowledge about the effects of vaping, and especially sharing them among kids in schools, could be making kids sick.
It opens up the lungs, especially the vapor, and that vapor makes them more prone and more susceptible of getting flu and other illnesses.
Staff say anyone needing more information on the harmful effects of vaping can contact the Whitley County Health Department. Now, those supporting school choice and providing resources for public schools are split on a controversial bill. House Bill 205 gives tax credits for private school scholarship donations. The bill did not come up for a vote in committee. Instead, its sponsor and those against it shared their opinions. Those for it say the scholarships open up new options for low-income students. Those against it say it takes much-needed money from public schools.
Children in foster care can receive a full scholarship, with the thought being that while a foster child may move from several homes during their childhood, perhaps we can provide some stability for them by keeping them in the same school setting.
How can the legislature justify passing a bill that puts precious public school funding in jeopardy? Any reduction in state general fund tax revenues means less money for the state toward our most fundamental obligation.
Now, Governor Bevin says he will sign the bill if it makes it through the House and Senate and onto his desk. A patient in London may be the second person to ever be cured of HIV. That is according to a case study published yesterday in the journal Nature. Researchers say the unidentified man, known as the London patient, was treated with stem cell transplants from donors who carried a rare genetic disorder that made them resistant to HIV. According to the case study, the London patient has been in remission for 18 months and no longer takes antiretroviral drugs. A Floyd County woman was sentenced after she pleaded guilty to charges of theft and Medicaid fraud. 34-year-old Amy Sloan of Prestonsburg worked at Minix Eye Care. Investigators say she and another man defrauded Kentucky Medicaid out of more than $12,000. She was sentenced to 7 years of probation. Her alleged partner pleaded not guilty. His case is still pending this morning. Well, it's 6:40. Let's toss it over to Brandon on another chilly March morning.
Yeah, it is a chilly March morning, and you can see a little bit of snow up on top of Whitesburg Pine Mountain on US 119, starting to back off a little bit, but some slick spots still possible. We go down to McKee this morning as sunrise approaches, and a little snow on the ridge tops, or the rooftops there, not the ridge tops, but on the rooftops there. So just kind of keep that in mind as you travel this morning. You could run into some snow-covered areas, some slick spots, and just be careful. Temperatures anywhere between 13 now, Jackson and Pikeville, all the way up to 19 in Jacksboro, and they're still falling when you factor in that wind chill. Feels like close to zero in a lot of locations this morning. Your out the door forecast, we are going to see temperatures climb some, but it's deceiving because we're going to see only 32. When you factor in the wind, though, it still feels pretty cold. Will?
All righty, Brandon. Thank you. Well, don't go anywhere. We will have a pet from the Kentucky River Regional Animal Shelter in our studio looking for a good home in just a few short minutes. But as always, thank you for joining us right here on Mountain News this morning.